everybody. Welcome, Story County Democrats and friends. We'll go ahead and get started. My name's Latifa Faisal. I am one of the... Thank you. I am one of the Story County supervisors. And before we get started, I do just want to recognize any veterans that we have in the room and thank you for your service. If you could stand, if you're able. Thank you so much. I'd also like to recognize any elected officials that we have in the room today and other significant contributors to the Story County Democrats, to our communities, recognizing, of course, that you are all very significant contributors to our communities. But I would like to call out Jan Bauer, the former chair, and former Story County Supervisor Jane Halliburton in the back. We have State Senator Herman Quirmbach. We have Ralph Rosenberg, who, is he still here? We have Ralph Rosenberg, there he is. Representative Ross Wilburn. Representative Beth Wessel-Crochelle. My amazing fellow supervisor, Linda Merkin. One of the hardest working women I know. We have County Attorney Timothy Mills. And from our Sheriff's Office, we have Captain Nick Lenny. Gotta look over my list really quickly. If I've missed anyone, I'm sorry. Please wave at me. Going once. Okay. I would also like to recognize Chris Mondak, who did the work. One of many who did the work, but who headed up this amazing event and pulling together our fantastic speakers. You know, you're not here to listen to me talk tonight, that's for sure. But as I was thinking about what I was going to say, I couldn't help but run through the videotape in my head of all of the things that are happening around the country and around the world that trouble me constantly and that keep me up at night and that sometimes and frequently can have me on the verge of crying if I think about it for too long. And originally I thought, I'm just gonna run through this list really fast and just get everybody all, you know, angry and geared up and ready for a good night. And I thought, that's not the way to do it, Latifa. What I really want to do is just tell you really quickly about how hard we're working at the county to really get things done for people in Story County and around Story County and people who come into Story County and enjoy time here. We are working so hard on our housing action plan. We are working incredibly hard with the City of Ames, with United Way, and with all of our communities to try and find new and innovative solutions for our housing crisis that we have in Ames and in Story County. We spend a lot of our time talking about housing and how we can keep people fed and keep people safe and make sure that they have access to the things that everyone should have access to. Transportation to get to your doctor's appointments, like all the things. Again, you're not here to listen to me, but I just wanted to let you know that we funded 2 Homes for Iowa homes through the ARPA dollars that we had from the federal government. They're built through the prison industries, and they're brought in and set down on foundations, and they're fantastic. We have one in Nevada and one in McCallsburg. I mean, I could just, we're working on our climate action plan. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. Anyway, I just want you to know that we are working really hard to do the best work that we can for all of you, and that we really love it when you reach out to us, when you give us a call. I got a call just the other day about something that someone was concerned about, and I was you know, I was so glad that she felt like she could call me. And I have been out to people's property. We have trudged through ditches to look at individual people's concerns and needs, and that's the thing that I love about this work. And so please reach out to us if you have a question, if something comes up. I'm just really honored and grateful that I have the opportunity to do this work on behalf of everyone. So thank you again for being here, and thank you. We have a really incredible lineup for you tonight, so I'm glad that you're here. First up, we have Tom O'Donnell, who's going to come up and wow us. He's, what did you say? How many children? 14?
One of 14.
He's one of 14 kids, so if you can imagine how hard it is to get a word in edgewise at the dinner table. I'm just one of 5, and that was hard enough. He says he enjoys talking. I know, I've read a lot. I know we all have read a lot of his work, so it's really a thrill to have you here. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to set my stopwatch. But if you think I'm going on too long, just, you know, Jody's good at that. So let's see if I can get this working here. It's really an honor to be here. And as you know, if you may not know, but I grew up 10 miles away from here. If you know Jody, you know that, or you know my sister Evie, you know that. We grew up in Slater. And I went to school here, and then between living in Urbandale and then moving to Van Buren County, we lived in Ames for 4 years. And I've been in this room before, so it's familiar to me, and many of your faces are familiar to me too, so it's great to be here. You know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, we could fit all of the Van Buren County Democrats around one of those tables. And here I am with, you know, this crowd. It's really amazing. It's also an honor to be here leading in for Jess Piper, because I've seen Jess speak before, and you're in for a treat. She will get you ready to march out and turn over a car or something like that. So now let me take you back almost a year ago to Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. I was driving to Iowa City to meet a friend of my son, and the friend was flying from New Orleans to Cedar Rapids and then driving to Iowa City, carrying my son's cat. He was moving, he couldn't keep the cat with him. Graham was visiting in New Orleans, so Graham graciously tucked Devo in front of under the seat in front of him. And I wasn't going to meet him until about midnight. And as I drove north, about a 2-hour trip from Bentonsport, where I live, I called the Jefferson County Democratic Party chair, and I told her that if one last attempt to find a candidate for House District 87 failed, that I would let a special convention nominate me. The idea sent me into a funk of fear and depression. I did not want to do this. I did not want to take on the incumbent, Jeff Shipley. And how many of you know about Jeff Shipley? All right. Not everybody, but, you know, enough that you get a sense of Jeff Shipley. He sounds reasonable and earnest until he starts talking about vaccines, geoengineering, and transgender people. And I've seen him disparage a primary opponent on stage and in print, and I did not want to be subject to that barrage. It didn't work out that way. He had nothing to fear from me, and he never attacked me. But we had tried for months to find a candidate. There are about 6,100 registered Democrats in House District 87. I think we asked 6,099 if they would run, and nobody would. So I knew I would end up on the ballot, and I entered the race with 76 days to campaign. So let me tell you a little bit about House District 87. It's in southeast Iowa. You follow the Des Moines River down almost to Keokuk, and it goes right through our county. In fact, I'm a quarter mile from the Des Moines River. the largest geographic area is Van Buren County, but there's only about 7,200 people in Van Buren County. Van Buren County is very poor. It's agricultural. There's some light manufacturing, a lot of outdoors. There's hunting and fishing, but people are poor. Housing is in terrible condition for the most part. And then we had the southern part of Jefferson County, which included Fairfield. And if you know anything about Fairfield, it's a pretty interesting town because they have Maharishi International University there. So it was kind of blue, but kind of libertarian, and they had a great democratic machine there that really helped me out. And then I had HD 87 has the western part of Henry County, which includes Mount Pleasant. And Mount Pleasant, because it's at the intersection of two major highways, has lots of manufacturing, warehousing, things like that. But it's pretty blue as well. So the district is mostly Republican. And in 2022, Shipley defeated a smarter candidate with better name recognition than me by about 55% to 44%. And with the Republican registration advantage and with no party voters leaning Republican as well, I had, the House Truman Fund was not going to give me any money. I had almost no time to campaign. But because of Jeff Shipley's attacks, his persona, and his neo-libertarian ideology, I could not let him run unopposed. And that's why I did it. So I had no expectations. I'd never even run for class president before. And I had almost no name recognition. What little I had came from marrying into Van Buren County. My wife grew up there, and her husband, Wendell Moore, was a noted watercolor artist there in the region, much beloved. But I had 76 days to campaign. I had a lot of help. My wife, Paula Moore, was my treasurer, my counselor. I'm going to cry if I keep going on. She was my rock, and she gave up a lot of herself to help me out. I had canvassers in 3 counties. I mentioned Jefferson County was really strong. We did win the little part of Jefferson County that voted for us. And then my family, my sister Jody came down and canvassed with us in Mount Pleasant. She organized all you great postcard writers out there. Thank you, thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. My sister Evie helped out. My sister Mary, my sister Louise, you know some of these people. There's 2 sisters I'm leaving out, and believe it or not, Jackie and Margie. Margie's in Arizona. Jackie did some work for us too. And then they all donated, of course, too. I had a great graphic designer and webmaster, and if you really want to know what good work she did, I've got a few cards here. We raised more than $30,000 in 76 days. Nonetheless, I lost 57.5% to 39.5%. And I'm not going to talk much about my experience on the trail because, like I said, I've heard Jess speak before, and my experience is very similar to hers. I'll let her talk about the tribalism and the general abhorrence toward Democrats, but I will talk about what I would do differently. Pro tip first, don't go cheap on the fence posts for your barn signs. We got these garden posts and we thought, well, this will be fine. Well, I just hope that their droopy condition wasn't emblematic of my campaign. My experience with, you all know what Vote Builder Van is. My experience was that I should have paid for it. You have to pay as a campaign for access to this. It seemed like a lot of money when we started. In the end, it wasn't. But because I didn't have access, I relied on the Truman Fund to supply me with walk lists. And as the election got closer, they were less and less responsive because they had no interest in me. I would advertise differently. We did radio, newspaper, but we did not do online advertising. Well, we did digital, and the Truman Fund did help with that. Digital ads, but we didn't do streaming ads. And I've since heard from other candidates that they did streaming ads, they'd go to the door and a kid would answer the door and say, "Hey Dad, it's that guy from YouTube." And so I wish I'd done that. But the main thing I would have done was start earlier. You know, well, that was fait accompli. I resisted it so much that, 76 days, what more can I say? I don't know if I'll run again, but regardless, what I am trying to do is be more present and connected to my community. So I'm going to the pancake breakfast, the pork loin dinners. I was an official at 3 high school track meets. I did the long jump, that's the easiest job, just a piece of advice. I go to the Board of Supervisors meetings. I go to school board meetings across 3 counties, mostly Van Buren County. And I go to the County Conservation Board. Paul and I have been doing that for years, and there's reasons for that. And I'm at these meetings, and I speak when I have something to contribute, but mostly I listen and learn. And showing up has earned me respect. Those people know that I care. I grasp the issues, and I care about those issues. And I've made friends with them, even though most of them are Republicans. They get along with me. There's one guy on the school board, he's kind of Mr. Macho, and he and I we're on good terms. So whether I'm a candidate or not, and I repeat, I have not decided, though some have asked. I got asked 3 times, I think, already tonight.
You should run.
Thanks, Jess. You too. Touche. I've not decided to run, but that connection to my community and my county is a good thing, and it's something we all should do more of, because you can't fake caring, you can't pretend to understand, and you can't make connections without putting in the time, and without those things you can't win in rural America. Thanks.
Only over by 36 seconds.
Thank you, Tom. One person I forgot to recognize earlier was Ryan Melton. He did have to withdraw and decided not to run, but we did just want to recognize all of the work that he has done and give him a round of applause. So next up, we have Isabel Kaiser.
Hi everyone, my name's Isabel. I'm just here for a short announcement from the Elections Committee. So we are going to be doing a door knocking info session / training session. We're going to be holding it on Sunday, July 13th at 1:30 p.m. in the Ames Public Library. Our goal for it is to get people who have never door knocked before or have only done it a little bit to come and learn more about door knocking in Story County, and also hopefully learn how to do it and then sign up. I know it's kind of one of the more awkward tasks of the election committee to do. It's definitely out of my comfort zone, but I'm hoping that, I've never done it before, so if I can do it, and I know Sherry also said if she can do it, anyone can do it, so just try. I don't know if you were following the New York mayoral election or primary elections. Yeah, very exciting stuff. But if you aren't aware, Zoran Mamdani was down in the polls, and it wasn't until a group of 50,000 door knockers went out into New York, and he ended up winning the election. So it really does help, and it really does matter. It's not a commitment if you do come, but we'd love to have you come out. Our goal is to also make sure that if it's your first time door knocking, that you're not alone. So we'll pair you up with someone who has more experience. We're also going to have a bit of a panel going with people who have door knocked before, so you can ask them what their experiences have been like and also any advice that they have. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone on the elections committee. I'm actually going to have, if you can and are able, elections committee members stand up so you can like look around the room and see who you can contact. All right, well, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cole Lindemann.
Yeah, so hello, my name's Cole Lindemann. I'm the new comms chair for the county party. We'll be doing the hat pass after I speak, so I just kind of wanted to explain really the impact that these donations have here. So your donations help us organize, engage voters, support Democratic candidates, and fight for the values we all believe in, like public education, accessible health care, reproductive rights, and a fair economy for working families. The county party plays a crucial role in providing individuals the resources they need to run for positions here in Story County, and ensuring that they are able to run campaigns that are strong and that are sometimes overlooked by other groups. As well, the party is also working to increase our impact across the county by developing community workshops. This will allow us to empower members and individuals to have a larger impact by taking individual action and creating local coalitions. As well, by providing outreach to people in the county who are looking for entry points into politics, but maybe don't know where to get started. So, with your help, we can build grassroots power and make sure every voice is heard here in Story County and beyond. Every dollar makes a difference, so thank you for being part of the movement. Thank you.
What I want to do is talk a little bit about what money does that is a recurring donation, because this allows the party to really plan and farther out. If they know what they're going to bring in, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to have fundraisers, it doesn't mean that we're not going to still give to fundraisers. We are definitely going to do that, and we're still going to give to our candidates. But to know that you have a certain stream of money that's coming in every single month, it is the one thing that can help a party to really expand our footprint. So I want you to take a look at, it's nice and big right on the front of there. What you want to do is take out your smartphone. You're going to go to your camera. You're going to point it at that. And when it says open in your browser, you're going to open that up. It's going to take you to the Story County Democrats Act Blue page. Now, if you're like me, you already have it pre-populates all your information, but if not, it's going to say choose an amount. And you can choose any amount on there, but let's say you're going to choose, because you're going to do underneath that, make it monthly, okay? $5, $10, $12, $15 a month, whatever you can afford, it helps. So you go ahead and click on that, fill that in. They do PayPal, they do credit card, etc. Automatically make sure you check that yes, count me in for make it monthly. Believe me, I've heard Ben Wickler from Wisconsin Dems talk about this. The one thing that made a huge difference was him being able to convince people to give sustaining donations to be able to plan. And as one of the biggest, Story County Dems being one of the biggest county parties in Iowa, we have a big role to play. We're still going to have the fundraisers. We're going to need those. We're still going to donate to our candidates. We're going to need to do that. But honestly, $5 a month, $10 a month, that's all it is. And then you can set it and forget it, as we like to say. Thank you very much.
And now the star of the show. I feel kind of silly. I just keep coming up and saying who's next on the list. But come on up, Jess Piper.
Thank you. If I'm a little too hot, I can pull back. I get to talking and I get kind of wild, as you were saying. My name is Jess Piper. I've been summoned from the cornfields and the bean fields of Missouri to come up here and speak to you guys in Ames. I am in Iowa, so I do need to deliver a message to you, and that is that we're all going to die anyway. Thanks, Joni. Do I need to tell you about the tooth fairy? So I ran for office in 2022, and the reason I ran for office, I never wanted to do this for a living, never thought about speaking for a living, never thought about running for office. I was a literature teacher, and I was teaching American Lit in Maryville, Missouri, and I was, if you're from, Northwest, any Northwest graduates in here? None. Hey, there we go, there's one. But he's from Missouri, I already talked to him. So I had been, teaching for 16 years. I had no delusions of running for office, but in 2018, Missouri passed an abortion ban with no exemptions for rape or incest, and I was mad. And then I opened up the newspaper one day, and my representative had written in there a piece about being proud of signing that ban with no exemptions, forcing women and children to deliver children. And so I thought, you know what, that's not right. His name is Alan Andrews. I like to remind everybody this man's name, Alan Andrews. So I sent him a message, and I said, hey, can you give me a call? I knew Alan. He's my state rep. I didn't get a call back. And so I ended up emailing him. I never heard from him. I wrote him a letter with a stamp. I never heard from Alan. So I started posting about him, and I started tagging him in these posts, and he never responded. And how many of you, raise your hand, if you have ever tried to contact one of your elected officials and they didn't contact you back? Well, that's a lot of people, isn't it? That's not okay. That's not how democracy works. But anyway, I was kind of used to it. He still wouldn't, contact me, and this to me was so egregious because of what he was done. So I was sitting at home one night, my husband's also a teacher, and I turned to him and I said, hey Des, why don't you call Alan? He said, I don't want to call Alan. I said, just call him. 20 minutes later, my husband gets a phone call. He answers the phone and he says, Jess, it's Alan. I said, no, it's not. It's this legislative aide. I've been speaking to him over and over again. He said, no, it's Alan. I said, you tell him to call me. And he did. My husband said, hey, Jess is the one trying to get a hold of you. You need to call her. And he did. He hung up and he immediately called me. And I lit into him. I saw red. I let him have it. And he told me two things I will never forget. Jess, I don't have to talk to you, and I'm calling you out of a favor to your husband. And when I woke up, when I pulled myself off the floor, I realized what he was saying was true. I realized that he didn't have to talk to me. He didn't have to talk to me because he was never opposed. He ran over and over again for 8 years without anybody ever opposing him. He didn't have to call me. He didn't have to call an independent. He didn't have to call a Republican. He did whatever he wanted, and he took money from donors, and he did the bidding of the donors. And that, to me, was just unacceptable. And that made it to where I thought maybe I should run for office. But it's Missouri, and in Missouri, you can't be a teacher and run for office, which is pretty convenient to keep 66,000 well-educated people out of the public sphere, right? So 2020 came along, and I went to go vote for Joe Biden in my tiny town of 480 people, Hopkins, Missouri. And when I went to vote, there was no Democrat down ballot. I couldn't vote for the state rep. I couldn't vote for the state senate. I couldn't vote for the sheriff. I couldn't vote for anybody in the county. I couldn't vote for anybody. And people will look at my place and they will say, you get what you vote for. Well, friends, I didn't have anyone to vote for. And that was enough. So I filled in my ballot, no Democrats. I went home and I told my husband, if no one else is going to run, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I got my butt kicked. I got taken to the woodshed, right? There has not been a Democrat elected in Nottoway County, not any sort of state representative, in 32 years. We have never elected a woman in HD1, ever. That's a problem. So I got my butt kicked, but it was worth it. I got my butt kicked, but I raised more money than any state representative candidate in the entire state of Missouri, $275,000. And I tell you what that kind of money does. It doesn't win a race, but it does do something. It makes that representative stay home. It makes him have to knock doors. It makes him have to make calls. It makes him have to raise money. It makes him take that money out and keep it from pockets from other people. He couldn't go to other places and help them raise money. They couldn't chip away at Springfield, Kansas City, St. Louis because they had to stay home. I did it in one district. What if we did it in 163 districts, right? We have to run everywhere. We have to understand that no race should be uncontested. There is not one representative from Iowa who should not be contested. There's not one of them who should go down to your state capitol and write whatever bills he wants because no one was contesting him. And that's the whole point, friends. We have to run. But right now, we're scared to run. People are scared that someone's going to say something about it. You know what? They're going to say something about you anyway. They're talking about that mayor and calling him a socialist. I don't care. I'm not scared of a socialist. You know what I'm scared of? An armed man, an armed masked man in an unmarked car without any sort of warrant taking people off the streets in America right now. They want us to be scared of Iranian sleeper cells. MAGA's already here. They're already doing it. You might as well get out and fight, friends. And I want to tell you something right now. If you are ever in a situation and you look like me and someone is being taken off the street, I hope you put your body in front of them. I hope you stand in front of them. I hope you throw sand in the gears and do not let them disappear someone in front of you. I was on a call this morning with a bunch of people from rural America, and they were asking, what's the message? What's the message for rural people? And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of messages, but Medicaid is the first one. They are going after Medicaid. I live in a state that's supposed to be pro-life. Pro-life. 40% of the babies born are on Medicaid, and they're going to take that away, right? Yeah. 1 in 3 senior citizens living in assisted living is on Medicaid. There are 36% of the people in my district that are on Medicaid, and my congressman voted against it. My congressman voted for that big bullshit bill. The BBB, right? That's bullshit. It's meant to give your tax money to millionaires. It's meant to take away all the services that we need and give it to people who don't need it. It's like giving a millionaire and going around and telling him, you find somebody that makes $20,000 a year and you take $1,000 from him and put it in your pocket. They get a $50,000 tax credit while the rest of us are paying $1,000 more. That big bullshit bill. Don't ever call it the beautiful bill, right? Never. In places like Iowa, places like Missouri, we aren't red. We have to get that through to people on the coast. We are uncontested. We are uncontested. And until we contest these races, we're still going to look like we're red. You can look at my district and people will say, why would I send a cent to that district? Every single one of them voted for a Republican. We didn't have a Democrat to vote for. That's the problem. I talk to people on the coast all the time. They say, what's wrong with you? Why do you vote against your self-interest? I don't. I voted for recreational weed. What are you talking about? I voted to undo our abortion ban, right? I voted to raise the minimum wage. I voted to give people sick pay. What did the Missouri legislators do? They overturned our will. Yeah. We overturned the abortion ban in November, and we have a complete abortion ban in Missouri. It's June. It's June. This is what happens when we elect Republicans. They don't care. They don't care about anybody. And that's the first thing I talk about whenever I knock a door. They don't care about you, friend. They don't care if you're a Republican. I know he's a nice guy that you go to church with, but look at his voting record. And that's what you have to do when you knock doors. You have to say, you see this guy? Seems like a nice guy, right? Here's his voting record. This is what he's doing to you. He is destroying your state. Not Missouri, but Iowa has the second rate of cancer in the country. Your water is poisoned. You can't go to your beaches. You can't go to your lakes because of farming practices. And I know I'm saying something that sounds pretty nasty in farm country, and believe me, I understand, but we've got to do better. We have to hand this planet to our kids and our grandkids, and they cannot subsist in poisoned places. We have CAFOs. They've started here in Iowa. They have decimated your country, your entire counties. Guess where they're coming now? Missouri. These concentrated animal feeding operations are coming to our place, into our counties and into our towns. My legislator said, you know what, you can't regulate them. States' rights, right? Yeah, counties, the government should be, right in front of you, but we can't regulate these places. They can come in and they can pollute with impunity. And this is all happening because we have a Missouri GOP supermajority. We've had it for 22 years. Now, you know that the GOP cannot govern because Missouri is 49th in starting teacher pay. But friends, we moved up. We were 50th a few months ago. We're 49th. But we went from 49th in educational funding to 50th. We are the last in the nation. Missouri used to have a great public school system, and we have ruined it. We can't find, and that's in air quotes, we can't find money to pay the teachers. We can't find money to fund the schools, but we can find $50 million to send it to private religious schools and vouchers, which is the same thing that is happening in this state. That is, there you go, yeah, exactly. That's a violation of church and state. Do we still have church and state? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. Do we still have a democracy? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. Abortion bans are against the separation of church and state. Book bans are against the separation of church and state. School vouchers are against the separation of church and state. And we need to remind our lawmakers of all three of those things. I want you to remember something. I heard somebody talking about the race in New York, and that was a great race, and it showed something, that people power is more than money, that people power can win elections. I want you to remind you of something. I don't want any Democrat punching left. Punch up. Punch at the oligarchy. Punch at the people who are the billionaires and the millionaires who are ruining your lives. Don't punch left. Socialists, I don't care. I don't care. Are you under the umbrella of a Democrat? Let's go. Do you vote for things that are good for the people? Then let's go. This current administration, this current Trump administration is taking a wrecking ball to public education. I want to talk about that for just a second. They are harming our schools, millions of students across the country, just to give tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires. We're in the fight for the soul of America. The soul of America happens every single day in our public classrooms. One thing we need to know for sure is that by dismantling the Department of Education, it did not help schools. I was in an airport in Arizona and I was talking to a lady. Now listen, I was tired. I'd had a couple drinks because flying these days, I mean, it ain't for the weak. So sitting there having a drink and a lady starts to talk to me and I was like, I don't know, she looks MAGA. I mean, sometimes you can just tell, right? I'm MAGA passing, so I get it. She's talking to me and I thought, well, okay. And she said I was a teacher and I was like, oh, okay, then I'll talk to you. And she says, I said, it's disheartening what they're doing with the Department of Education. She said, well, she said, here's the thing. They're going to send that money back to the states. No, friend. No, friend, they are not going to send that money back to the states. And if they do, if they send it back to a state like Missouri, they send it back to a state like Iowa, all they're going to do is take that money and give it to millionaires, right? And send it back. It's not going to the schools. We have to remind people that. If you want to see what happens what they want to happen to the country, all you have to do is look at rural America, look at rural Iowa, look at rural Missouri. Towns collapse when our schools are gone, right? Towns absolutely collapse. In Missouri, 33% of the schools are on a 4-day week. 33%. Over a third. And I'll have a lot of people look at me and say, well, those kids can get extra learning activities on that 5th day. No, they're not, friend. They're at the Casey's. They're making pizzas, or they're babysitting for somebody else who doesn't have any care on that day, right? 40% of rural Missourians live in a child care desert. 35% of rural Iowans live in a child care desert. They don't care about that. If they're pro-life, why can't I find someone to watch my kid? If they're pro-life, why are they taking away the vaccines? If they're pro-life, why aren't they working on livable wages and affordable housing and health care for all? If they're pro-life. We can't be afraid of losing friends. We have to run everywhere. They're coming after NIH. They're coming after NEH. They are coming after Social Security, SNAP, all the things that we need for these, for people to survive, all to give tax credits and tax cuts to the wealthy. And I'm saying that a couple times because when you are out knocking doors, how many of you have knocked doors? Yes. This is a great group. It can be scary. I know when I go out and knock doors, I can assume there's a gun behind every door, right? I had my son knock doors for me, and there was a man who answered the door with a gun. He's Army, and so he wasn't scared. I mean, he was sizing him up, and thank God he didn't take him down. But we also have to remember that there are things that Republicans want to hear when you knock their doors. They want to hear that you're not going to take their guns. There are Democrats that are gun owners. We just don't wear them as accessories, right? My entire inheritance from my dad was guns. Like, I'm looking for places to hide guns in my house, right? I mean, so I would often tell them, I'm a gun owner. You know, we live on a little farm. I was a teacher. When I knocked doors and talked to Republicans, the daylight between us was this big. We wanted the same things, but I tell you what the problem was. They would look at my literature, they would listen to me speak, and they'd say, are you a Republican or a Democrat? And I'd say, I'm a Democrat, because I'm not stupid, I didn't put it on my literature. And they would say, I can't vote for you because I'm a Christian. Over and over and over again. And friends, that's why we have to be out in these communities, because Democrats left rural spaces a long time ago, decades ago, and we need to own that. They did. They thought, well, we could win with rural area or with urban areas and suburban areas, and they couldn't. Look around. It didn't work out for them, right? So that's, you know, really problematic. But when the Democrats left, so did the Republicans. I've never had a Republican knock my door. I've never had a Republican call me. But you know what? Who tells them what to do every week, 3 times a week? The churches. I got 4 in my town of 480, and 2 of them consistently preach politics from the pulpit. There's a church in St. Joe. It's called Calvary Baptist Church, and they have a pastor named Josh, and he gets up every Sunday and he tells them how to vote. He talks about Trump's policies, which, I mean, are completely against Jesus and all the things that we learned in church. He tells them who to vote for. A couple Sundays ago, he got up and said, well, this is probably against our tax exempt status, but he did it anyway. He did it anyway, because nobody cares. We're in a shock and awe campaign. We're in a place where we can't pay attention. They want you to not be able to pay attention. They want you to give up because there's too much coming at you at every moment. And I understand. I turn on the news and I want to cry. I read it so that I can stop, because I can't take this much. And it's on purpose. It's called the shock and awe doctrine. It's meant to make us pull away, disengage, go back, do our knitting, whatever we're doing, gardening for me, and forget to look at it while the world is on fire. But we absolutely can't do that. I'm going to tell you a story that I heard from a woman that I follow online. She's a nurse. Her name is Jen Hamilton. And she told the story about working in the ER one night. And she said she looked up, she was in triage. She looked up and a woman came in screaming, and she was holding a rug. And she told her, come here. And she unraveled it. It ended up being a quilt, and unraveled it, and there was a baby inside that wasn't breathing. It was blue. So they rushed it back to see what was going on. She kept asking, Mom, did the baby swallow something? What's wrong? There was nothing in his mouth, nothing in his throat. They didn't know what to do. And the mom said, and she was in her Burger King uniform. Dad came in a few minutes later in his McDonald's uniform. And she says, I had to go to work. The baby was sick. And I took it over to my mom's to take care of the baby. Mom is on hospice. She has cancer. And she said, well, she couldn't take care of it, so my 8-year-old niece was over there. And she was taking care of the baby. Well, the baby was sick. She had a fever. So the little girl called and said that, she needed to give her medicine. And Mom said, go into the cabinet. There's some ibuprofen in there, some Motrin, and give it to the baby. She grabbed morphine and gave the baby morphine. So the good news is they were able to give her Narcan, and the baby was okay. The bad news is that happens every day of the week. The bad news is people go to work in these places and they don't have any sick time. They don't have earned sick time. In places like Missouri, they said that people don't deserve 1 day of sick time for 6 weeks of work. Our legislators said that. And this happens over and over again because people can't afford to be sick. My own son called me today. He's a construction worker and he was at work sick. Why? Because he doesn't have any days off. And he can't afford to take any days off because he's construction. His wife is a parent. They had 2 kids in Kansas City in the local Head Start. And guess what they did to Head Start? They pulled all the funding and they don't have daycare anymore and they have to pay $125 a week for each of those kids. He can't take the time off, and that's the world we're living in right now. And it's the world that we have to do better. And it's a world I know that we can do better because we've done it before, because we have faced fascism before and we beat them, and we will do it again. I'm going to leave you with one little thought. Right after the election of Trump, the second time, I thought, and this is what I do for a living. I'm an activist, but I've had enough. And I don't know if it's safe. And I don't even know if I should stay in Missouri because I have daughters and it's not even ethical to raise them in a state like Missouri. So I put a little cash in my pockets and I went up to Minnesota. There's this little place called Ely, right on the boundary waters. The boundary waters they want to drill on. Right on the boundary waters, and I thought, well, if shit hits the fan, I know how to canoe. I can get myself over to Canada, right? Well, that was before we screwed with Canada. Lady, get back to America. But as I was looking around at the places in Ely, I kept passing Trump flags, Trump banners. Trump stuff was on, barns. I would turn on, the local news and they were talking about Trump, and something just hit me then. It doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter because we're all in the same boat. Because they've taken away states' rights. I mean, they were all about states' rights, right? Until we send in the National Guard into California. And by the way, I mean, they're talking about getting rid of, birthright citizenship. So if you're born in New York and California, your kid might be a citizen. Come somewhere like Iowa, maybe they're not a citizen anymore. But the fact of the matter is, there's nowhere to run anymore. There's nowhere to hide anymore. So what we do is stay where we are and we fight for our families and our communities. We link arms, we draw a line in the sand, and we tell them no more. Thank you, friends.
Are we, right? Thank you, Jess. That was fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for coming and spending time with us tonight, and I hope you all have a very safe drive home. Thank you for everything that you do for the party, and can't wait to get busy with all of you. Thank you.